participating and jumping on with us. We're just going to allow for a couple of more minutes just to get everyone else in. And we're also waiting for Dr. Ye Tao to join us to assist with presenting what we have going on here for solar radiation management and protecting our oceans and cooling the planet down.
Absolutely. Cooling the planet is the #1 objective of solar radiation management, but it can have other synergistic, myriad beautiful effects, as we've been exploring with James Desmond, who's joining us from Cork, Ireland. And it's getting late at night there for James, and he's hanging in there, and I'm so grateful for that, and grateful for everyone who's here. Welcome, 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 Sandra. Welcome, Abigail, Jordan, Zion, everyone who's been joining. Forgive me if I don't call you out specifically. Some of you don't have names up yet on your square, and that's okay, but feel free to say hello. This is kind of a good time to actually check in and say hello. So if you'd like to say hello and introduce yourself briefly, feel free. No pressure. There is never any pressure to talk on the block party. Talking is always optional. It's totally fine to just hang out. Yes, James, go ahead.
Just wanted to say, can you hear me now, Jim? Yeah?
Yes, we can, James.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because I'm having, me with the technology, I'm actually having difficulty finding how to get up the, with myself on, with everybody else on the screen at the same time. I can only see yourself and 2 others. And I'm figuring out, I still can't figure out how to do it here now at the moment. And I'm assuming any new members would probably be having the same difficulty as me. But I heard you, I was in the kitchen, I heard you explain it coming earlier and I missed it. So if you could perhaps give us a clue out to put on the full view, all the members, it'd be good, because some of the new ones mightn't get it anyway.
So James, as far as I know, on mobile, there's no way of seeing everybody at once. I think you can only see 4 people at once, I think. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong about that. On desktop, there's a button in the upper right-hand corner that says speaker view and gallery view, and you can toggle that. I think on iPad, it's very similar to desktop. But yeah, again, on mobile, I don't think there's a way to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're correct. Mobile, you can't do that, but on an iPad or a tablet, you absolutely can toggle it out. So if you wanted to rejoin on a different device, you would have some more options afforded to you.
Yeah, no problem. Cheers for that. It's just that last week I could see about 10 different people at the same time in smaller little boxes, but that's cool. I'll carry on like this anyway. Don't want to be wasting time. Go on, carry on.
Oh, no. It's a great question. I'm glad you raised it, because I'm sure you're not the only one with that issue. But the fact that you were able to see more last week is interesting. So you may want to just check around with different buttons. And if you discover a way to get back to more windows, please let us know for the others on mobile. Thank you. Thank you, James.
And Jamin, do you want to just give a little bit of an introduction of our think tank, the Block Party, Collective Intelligence, just like a 5-minute, 0 to 3,000 view of everything, just for the new members that I've invited would be great. And then we can lead right into it.
Sure. I'll probably trim it down to 2 minutes, because we just got joined by Dr. Ye Tao of Harvard, and he is our resident celebrity for this segment. No pressure, Ye. You've earned it yourself. But just to give a super brief intro to Radish and everything we're doing Block Party prior to introducing Ye properly. What we're creating here, it's essentially a big open source think tank / community. And I'm co-founder and president of Radish.org. We're pioneering a form of collective superintelligence called Radical Collective Intelligence, which you can learn more about on the Block Party page itself on Radish.org. On the Block Party page, there's a link to 30 minutes of Radical Collective Intelligence, which gives a really solid introduction. But in very simple terms, this is humanity coming together in a big and growing virtual room, which will ultimately branch out into a virtual conference center with unlimited breakout rooms, so that we can cover myriad topics and conversations in parallel. But right now, for starters, we're just meeting in one big general session, which is the block party, which happens every Friday for 24 hours straight, starting at 6 a.m. Friday morning Pacific time, going all the way to 6 a.m. Saturday morning. And that should suffice for now. And perhaps the best example of what we're doing is what I will invite Ye, Dr. Ye Tao of Harvard, to introduce. Maybe give us a brief introduction, if this is a good time, Ye, to what you've been working on, solar radiation management for cooling the planet. We're literally talking about deploying millions of square miles of reflective surface to reflect a portion of the sunlight back into space that would otherwise heat up our already exponentially overheating planet. You could sort of think of it as a dimmer switch for the sun, urgently needed. So with that, Ye, if this is a good time, please take it away. So happy you're here. Thank you so much for joining us, Ye.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Jamin. So I just joined, and my connection wasn't very good, so I wasn't sure who we have the pleasure to talk with today. Could you briefly update me on this?
I can do that.
Yeah, go.
No problem. Yeah, so I've invited some of my most trusted professional network partners in my professional ecosystem to join us today to hear more in detail, just a summary of what we're collectively doing with you, Ye, for the project, SRM project. And we have members participating with us, representing very powerful institutions internationally, connected to the United Nations. We have a member here I'll introduce that's going to be talking about the blue economy. I'm going to be introducing someone that's going to be talking about the blue economy also, if you're not aware of that yet, Ye. We have people from the Vatican as well that's going to be looking at maybe bringing something forward from the papacy to get some things submitted there. So we have a lot of folks here, a lot of professional people that are really ready to dig in and listen about what we have to present and how we can all participate collectively with our networks and what resources we have to push this most important project forward. So very excited. So very excited.
Right, it looks like Ye may be frozen at the moment. Ye, if your audio is working, just give us a shout. Otherwise, we'll wait for you.
Everyone heard me, right?
Oh yeah, we all heard you, Dylan.
Okay, great. Okay.
Ye happens to
Heard
be-
you loud and clear.
Yeah,
Perfect.
very, very clear, brother. Looks like he just dropped, so like he's having a connection problem. He'll be back.
Oh, Nikki, welcome, and welcome.
Aloha, brother.
Welcome everyone. Mark, Jordan. Like I say, people keep popping in, so hard to keep up sometimes. And Dylan.
Ye's back.
Okay, hey, welcome back, Ye. Welcome back.
Take it away. You have it.
Now, Ye still looks frozen to me.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any movement either.
Either he's deep in thought, which happens sometimes.
Oh,
He's a really
here we go. I think he's trying to connect now.
Okay. Thanks for your patience, everyone.
This is so invigorating.
Welcome to the future. I mean, this is humanity talking with each other directly, not mediated by any institution, etc. So welcome. And Ye, it looks like you're back. Welcome, Ye. Looks like
Yes,
you.
I'm back. Sorry, for some reason the connection is really bad today. Yeah, we're even talking about potentially shutting down the research here if the virus situation gets worse. But I guess lacking data, it's hard for it to get worse.
Wow.
So in case, I only heard the first half of what Dylan said. So there's apparently many people.
I'll relate a little bit. So we have an amazing assembly of everyone I've invited from my professional ecosystem to hear what we're working on with you. We have very high-level institutions participating with us on this call as well. And we're really looking forward to participating and seeing how we can kind of fit ourselves in and how we can contribute to making this project a reality. So you have an incredible amount of ears right now.
Okay, sure. So I wasn't sure like where everyone is in terms of whether everybody had time to look through previous presentations I did. So I'm not sure. Can just give me a sense of where everybody is and what
I've sent a few videos of your presentation with your Boston presentation, 6 minutes. So they have a nice nutshell there. And I've also been sending around your graphic, your kind of one-pager outline that kind of shows just some basic models of what you're working on.
All right. So then basically, I guess I will give a very quick just recap and then open up for questions. I think that's probably the most efficient in the 54 minutes that I have left. So, so basically, there's different threats facing our species, and my contribution so far has been to basically review available literature from different fields of science and engineering, and rank the different threats in temporal order of urgency. And the most urgent threat we face is overheating, which leads to downstream failure of agricultural production system, which is already happening. And the timescale for this failure is projected to be within the next 5 to 20 years, and anywhere between that. The lower end of 5 years would be precipitated by events such as we're witnessing, including viral spreads, disease, and locusts and pests, and a consequent inability of the human civilization to adapt in time, and cascading effects thereafter. The longer end of 20 years is really the upper limit that's based on experimental studies of ecosystems and linear projection of current trend in temperature. So we have, on the shorter end, 5 years to get something going, and the longer end, if we're really lucky, we have 20 years. So that's the most serious threat we face. Everything else is subsequent to that, including sea level rise that's on the order of a century to 2 centuries from now to have an impact that's comparable to even a fraction of the loss of food that we're facing in the next few years. So we really have to focus our attention on dealing with the most urgent threats at the moment. So, and the most efficient way to do that, the most economical way, is to forget about drawing down CO2 or stop emissions, because we certainly do not have the time to do that, but rather to cancel out the heating effect of CO2 by putting out mirrors. So, and with that, I open the floor to questions for the next 15 minutes.
And maybe, Ye, if you want to detail a little bit about kind of the affordability of this as opposed to other more expensive technologies out there, and the scalability, kind of rapid deployment functions.
Okay, sure. Yeah, sure. That's very important. So if we want to capture CO2 or stop emitting CO2, we're talking about some sort of carbon tax on the order of $50 to $200. Currently, air capture of CO2 takes about $200 US for each ton. We can do it much more cheaply by putting out mirrors, and the cost comes down to about less than $10. So this project could potentially be funded if we could get some sort of carbon tax going on the order of a few dollars US per ton of CO2 emissions. So that's a price estimate that's conservative in the sense that we do not take into account potential discounts when we do this at a large scale. So the estimate of $10 is using currently commercially available material and processes that everybody can just do on their own, you know, in their backyard if they wished. And so basically we're looking at roughly 1 order of magnitude reduction in cost compared to any other competing proposals.
That's beautiful. And maybe go into a little bit of the positioning of these mirrors, just so they can hear what would be the main focus deployment first phase. I would expect the equator. If you want to go into a little bit of that.
Yeah, so the placement of the mirrors for maximal cooling efficiency, you want to place them where there's the most sunlight averaged over the year, and that would be in the equatorial regions, where there's especially drier regions where there's less cloud cover. But as a first phase, we should also use the opportunity to get people familiar with the concept and get them involved. So teaming up with people in architecture and the urban design field, for example, to put mirror roofing based on glass as a way to simultaneously mitigate urban heat island effect is one potential way in the first year or so of the project. And we certainly have enough surface area on the roofs to stabilize, temperature for the first year or so and get the idea publicized on a global scale. After that, concurrent to this initial implementation near us, we should involve teams of climate simulation people to really map out the optimal localization of these things, both on land and at sea, in order to induce the most favorable climate afterwards, both in terms of temperature distribution, but also, very importantly, precipitation patterns. So the importance of considering both land and ocean implementation is precisely due to this need for tunability for the climate. If we can really have access to all of the ocean areas and basically place them wherever is optimal for precipitation in agricultural production areas, then the result would be best for keeping the civilization running and having enough fuel to fuel the transition to the next versions of our civilization that's hopefully more actually sustainable and more equitable.
That was beautiful. Another point I think would be very of interest, just the agricultural additions to the technology of creating permaculture in the oceans and maintaining the oceans, protecting it from acidification, etc. If you want to just mention some of those points.
Okay, sure. I'll quickly go into that. So currently, ecosystems on land are collapsing faster than ecosystems in oceans. So we have roughly 40% decline in the total biomass in the oceans. And on land, insects, for example, and many animals, it's more like 60% or more. In freshwater fish, it's 85% to 90% decline already, compared to a 1970 baseline. And a lot of pressure exerted on land-based ecosystems because of expansion of land-based agriculture. And it's expanding all the time because demand for higher end nutrient is increasing as we lift the world out of poverty. So the trend is going to continue, but it's very bad news for land ecosystems. And the high concentration of CO2 has a concurrent effect of depreciating the nutrient content of land plants. So the high CO2 is favorable for promoting growth, but at the same time, the high CO2 conversion rate into sugar makes it such that the nitrogen absorption rate becomes proportionally slower. So per kilogram of biomass produced on land, now you have less nutrient in the terms of protein. So just incidentally, the opposite observation has been made for plants growing in the ocean, like many types of seaweed. They become more nutritious and higher protein in protein content under CO2 fertilization. That's an empirical observation. So there's a natural incentive to move agriculture off of land to exploit this beneficial nutrient enrichment under CO2 fertilization. Not to mention, we would simultaneously liberate land and return it to terrestrial ecosystems to help them recover at the same time. And ocean implementation of aquaculture would be most conveniently located in delta regions where rivers flow into the sea. And that's also where we have the most concentration of nutrient discharge from rivers. And having designed aquaculture system there would help also purify the water off of the fertilizers that's running off from land before they really get mixed into the sea. And the fertilization effect also promotes faster growth of the agricultural fields in the ocean that we implement. So, so this way we can really kill several birds with the same stone. And as far as ocean acidification is concerned, in the near term, it's not a problem. So we have until 2080 to really deal with that problem systematically. Before that, we can really just focus on decreasing temperature and making the ecological agriculture transition.
That's fantastic, Ye. With that and with your time that you have here, I wanted to take a moment and introduce, with permission, Sandra. I just wanted to have you take the mic for a moment while he's here and just describe your working relationship and your idea with the blue economy that you shared with me earlier. And Sandra is an amazing lady that we just got recently connected with. And she has a lot of resources to bring to the table to just think tank with us on. And she has a lot at her disposal to really think tank the problem. And I would love her to speak and introduce that concept to you, Ye, if you don't already know it.
Do you hear me? Thank you very much. I'm very new into this project. I just had the teaser so far. So for me, it's very new. I like everything that is going to get into new solutions. And in this, I work very close to Gunther Pauli from Blue Economy and also the Club of Rome. And in this case, because all these projects, and this seems to be quite a huge project, need a lot of funding, I guess. And also need some power for people to say, yes, we do it. And also you need a lot of land. Also sea is land. So you probably need a lot of impact to make such a project run. My question would be, if I can ask, how far have you been into sort of getting into governmental projects? That if you talk to government already about getting land ready to implement this, and how has your funding been so far? So because it must be a lot of money you require to do it, right? So is it just a Harvard project so far, or is it already on a bigger scale, like into other terms like the United Nations, with the Club of Rome, or with governments, or where's your support so far? That would be interesting for me to know. Can you get into this point?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. So I really only started to dive very deeply into the issue technically about 2-3 years ago, like shortly after I started my current position as an independent group leader at the Roland Institute at Harvard. So I'm in some sort of a very unique academic position where I do not have to worry about funding for a few years, and I'm capable of doing whatever that attracts my interest. So since about 2016, I was hired to come here, and I started a group that was originally designed to increase the resolution of MRI imaging and to apply it to material science and basic drug development research. But of course, I have always been aware of the problem that we're facing, extensive climate change problem. And increasingly so, in the past few years, it became evident to me that it's not going to be meaningful for me to just continue only doing what I was doing if foreseeably in a few years, the society as we know it will probably most likely collapse. So I switched my direction and using basically the funding I originally obtained for the original project. So, and my focus has really been to really look into things into as much technical detail as is possible, and in all the different fields, multidisciplinary data together into a holistic engineering framework. And my focus still is and has been really to push that front as far as possible and putting presentations and ongoing manuscript into as solid forms as possible to withstand the harshest of peer review process. So our focus here has not been to really do outreach or public disclosure or communication. So we're just on the early stage of reaching out for funding to expand upon the concept. But our main focus right now is still developing different concepts to target the different threats we face, first identify them, and then design strategies to target each and every one of them. So overheating, acidification, and the runaway greenhouse effect, including methane release. So these are the ones we're currently working on and believe to have found workable solutions that's within the reach of humanity with its current economic capacity.
You still more on the technical level so far and on the Harvard level, let's say like this, or is it already, have you got like tried to talk to government about the project to sort of say, let's have a test run here for like, I don't know how much square meters you need for make something an impact, let's say like this. How much land do you need?
How much land do we need? Okay, so we have not talked to governments. If you people in this room have connections and think there's an efficient way to charge, yes,
and
we're
always going straight to the point. I don't want to be. I just always, and I don't want to be demotivating. I just always try to find solutions. Like I love ideas, but I just wanted the ideas to be making them one. You know what I mean? So
Yes,
to make them as far as possible, because I just love the enthusiasm, but there's one. I just want to understand. So we need. So you how much land do you need? That's it. Like for example, if you want to make an impact, let's say you need several places to make an impact in general, or would it be like if you place it like let's say in front of Italy, it would make an impact on Italy, or how do you place it to understand the idea of it?
So land and ocean. I would just say how much ocean is needed and how much land is needed.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So in the end, either on land or ocean, it differs by a factor of about 2. It's more efficient in the ocean because ocean is dark. So for every mirror you put in the ocean, you get a fractionally more of the sunlight reflected back into space. But in terms of the calculation of the efficiency of the method, for each ton of CO2, you need about 6 meters squared of mirror. And we emit, as a society globally, 40 gigaton of CO2. So the way you get to area is multiply 40 giga, so 4 times 10 to the 10th by 6. So the result is about 2.4 times 10 to the 11th meters squared of area on Earth. Every year in the initial phase where you put mirror just to stabilize the temperature. But of course, the framework is not just building mirrors forever because that's not sustainable. At the same time, once we have this mirror manufacturing, glass manufacturing capability, we should really push for key technologies for energy generation. That's concentrating solar thermal energy and concentrating solar furnaces for material processing. So these are emerging technologies that by many metrics are superior to wind in terms of climate impact and superior to solar photovoltaics in terms of equivalent CO2 emission in building the infrastructure. So it's a framework that has different phases, but the first phase is to public understanding acceptance and building of infrastructure to stabilize the climate at the current rate of CO2 consumption, and then during the building phase, transition the economy to solar thermal based energy generation. But in terms of
so far, it's not already somewhere. There's not a project where you can sort of see it or you can feel it. It's more like done in a lab, let's say like this. That's the kind of project status we have. No? Okay.
Yes, it's a, but there are, circumstantial evidence. I mean, if you just look at the temperature of different cities as a function of their net albedo, darker roofs versus white roof, there's clear demonstration of empirical experimental evidence that this process is effective because it's a very simple physics. So that the beauty is it doesn't really require a demonstration because it's well accepted in climate community and physics community that it certainly is going to work. There's no doubt about it.
So Sandra, what do you think? Do you think the Club of Rome would co-sponsor something like this with their
Yes, of course,
backing?
because you need a lobby for it. I mean, it's and projects are wonderful, and there are a lot of projects ongoing to save our planet. Let's say it this way. But if you want to have an impact, you need to be like really, you need to be on the table. So, but to be on the table, it's well, I'm also on this table, so but I'm the nice one, you know. But there are the other ones that are sort of really like very clear. So what is the impact of it? How much does it cost? How much, what do we have of it? What is the good, why should we do it? Why should we not go for other projects? So what we need is a very good presentation of it. And we need to have a clear understanding of the reality, if it's possible to do it, to make it reality, you know. So I think what I would suggest as a first step, because really I have only seen a teaser for now, that you send me the material you have so far as presentation to look into it, and that I could give you some sort of ideas of how it could perhaps be more presentable to a table. In order to get the lobby we require and to have sort of the ability to also make one project, to sort of really feel it and see it and show in reality it works. You know what I mean? Because that would be sort of something that requires. I mean, the good thing is you're from Harvard, right? Or someone else used Harvard. So
Roland Institute. Yeah.
So that's a very good start. So because you have got the credibility that you're able to do something like that, that's really good start. But you don't have government behind you, right? So you don't have to sort of try to do it in. Do you have the budget to do it like the first start for kick off in reality, or is it still you need money
we need
for that?
to raise roughly. I'm speaking for
So
Yay.
right now,
I think. Sorry, Yay, go forward. I think we need to raise like $3 million, right, Yay, for the first phase of development that you're talking about.
Yeah, to make the protocol.
Of the steps, the next steps required to make it reality. Do you have that, like a business plan or something like that? Let's talk it this way.
That's something we're still working on, because as I said, the concept is really new. It's really fundamentally different from everything that.
Yeah, I just think about that next Bilderberg meeting coming up this year. Perhaps, I don't know, this would be a good possibility to have it already then there. So there's quite interesting people on there. Next meeting I will be in in April, which is the pre-work to the G20. So perhaps we could, the Global Solutions Summit, which is in Berlin. So I don't know. I need some really like, you know what I mean?
Bullet points. Yep.
Yeah,
you're coming at the ground floor, Sandra, just to be clear. I mean, this is a brand new thing. Go on.
So Dylan, sorry, I really have to leave for another meeting, but it's a pleasure to speak with Sandra. And I'm going to Europe and Israel on the speaking tour about the project, including the Weizmann Institute.
Well, I would just suggest that you just wanted to forward, we just give you my WhatsApp number. I give it.
I can forward that to him.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will count on Dylan to make the contact, and
I will do that.
So we just stay in contact, and when you have a little step forward, then just pass it on to me, and then we just hopefully make
forward.
it work, because it sounds great. I mean, I love this kind of ideas. I mean, good. It's always good to just have the ideas beyond imagination, because these are the ones that just cool. I like that. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ye.
That's
So,
Talk to you later.
yes,
If you could stay on, everyone, please stay on.
oh yeah.
Yeah, please.
It's
Please.
nice talking to you.
All right.
Please stay on, everyone. So thank you, Sandra. That's kind of what we're trying to outline is, you know, like you're saying, kind of bring some structure to the project, make it packaged, get it packaged in the right way. We have some other members joining us that are actually looking at developing a business plan collaboratively as our whole collective is coming together. So outlining those steps is very, very crucial, Sandra. And we're going to make that direct connection happen for you as soon as possible.
Cool. So, but is Howard sort of giving budget to make sort of like to have something, the material sort of something for the start? Does Howard support this?
We, as far as everything that Ye's published online, that's pretty much what we have to work with as the initial concept strategy. And then what we're developing, with your help, of course, is just outlining the full vision in a pitch deck, and, you know, even getting it to like a small video, kind of the teaser that you watch, but maybe a little bit more in depth with some graphics showing the entire vision with some CGI, etc. Those are all things that I'm very interested in contributing when the time is right, sooner than later. But we have a lot. We have a lot of the science down. You know, he's engineered. He's pretty much gone through everything. He's been working on this for, I think, over a year. So we're at this phase of like, all right, we got all the science, we got the data, the engineering, and it's just coming down to, you know, getting the project out there and sharing it with the public and with governments and with your institutions that you're part of. It's just about getting the word out and then simultaneously building the framework, the packaging, to really make sure that our message is clear and there's, you know, no real questions of why this is really needed.
That's the problem. We have just one goal. I mean, if I present the project to my, let's say my communities, I have just one little, and they catch them, or they say, oh, well, nice, try another project. You know what I mean?
Right. So it's a little short. Yep.
It's better to just take your time and to be really sort of not to rush too much, because there's this sort of big bang in the beginning, you know, and we should be really careful about when we spread it out. So we can make a lot of mistakes beforehand, but the moment we get it in the tables, it must be really, really good. So
really good. Yep.
Really good work all together with all activities they have, different levels, and just brainstorm. Talking also things that are just nonsense, but talking it in between us before we just get on the table, because there it has to be really like perfect, sort of. Yeah. Exactly.
I totally hear that. Any comments, Jamin? Anyone in the room? We might want to start a queue.
And Dylan, actually, yes, I think your mention of putting together a quick video, like you were mentioning of, with your background and so forth. I mean, I think that would go a whole long way, because it's one thing to actually talk about it. Boy, so many people are so visual, and if we could, that would be an excellent. I think that would be the most impactful.
With a deck.
For sure. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
We don't understand the technical part of it. We just we want to understand what is the impact, why is it necessary, and what is the benefit of it. You know, we like it, but we don't understand it. We have no idea about how it works. I mean, that is explained for those. Yeah. It's
a learning curve. Yep.
But sorry, Dylan.
Go on, Jamin. Yep.
I think that probably the key information that we're going to need to convey is, number one, data on the exponential planetary overheating and where that's taking us. By now, that's fairly well known and well accepted within the scientific community. So that's not a big proof point. That's just like, check, right? So as the planet is exponentially overheating like this, what are our options for stopping it, right? Option number one, do nothing. We all die in 5 to 20 years. Great. Not. Okay. Option number one, do nothing. So do nothing is not an option. Option number two, draw down carbon. And this is where Ye is saying, hey, If you want to spend trillions of dollars to draw down carbon to stabilize the temperature, we can do that. Just give us the trillions. Oh, you don't want to spend trillions, but but hundreds of billions is more your speed? Mirrors, right? And then within mirrors, we need to show different options. The floating glass mirrors might be relatively expensive. It might be like, you know, a brand new Mercedes-Benz diesel. It's the best car for, you know, your family's needs and all that, but it's very expensive. Another would be thin film reflective material. Hey, we can't afford the Mercedes now. How about a Ford? Okay, great. You know, and that could be thin film reflective material. So state the problem, enumerate the options, and show here are your different, you know, options with the different factors: cost, environmental impact, time to deploy, etc. All the key factors, so that Sandra can then show this to her people, and in 5 minutes, boom, here's the nutshell, right? And the real question is, do you want to live? Do you people want to live? Look, if we're all suicidal, then, you know, we don't need.
Well, the question is, do they want the people to live? Well, there are very interesting theories about that. We don't get into these details now.
Well,
I always tell these people, you know, the problem is if you make the people die, the wrong people will survive, not the real ones, the good ones. So we should not go in that one. So.
Yeah, but I mean, look, we are all people. Even billionaires are people too, and so we need to. I mean, because
yes.
in an exponentially overheating world, it's not like you can go into your $50 million bunker and come out 10 years later and all the poor people are dead and great, we inherit the world. No, the world's going to be radioactive, extremely hot, extremely dry, impossible to grow food.
Yes, but I'm putting them perfect. I bring you next time with me, because really they're just totally nuts. But thank you.
Yep.
They're crazy.
Yep.
They're really
and just so you know, Sandra's basically like a light ambassador within these circles. So she's trying to change it from within the superstructure.
Definitely.
Yep.
It's not easy, because I feel most of the time quite lonely there. But I'm not giving up. I'm like you. I'm not giving up. No way. So let's go for it.
Beautiful.
Any comments?
Go ahead. You say you just bring it on the table, because is there something that we can tell the government that they have sort of now it sounds really crucial, but one effect is like we have the climate problem sort of, well, not fixed, but we have a positive impact on the climate. But is there something else that we can see on the economic side, that they have a positive impact on the economy? You know what I mean? These people work with money. It's crucial. They work with money. They just think about money. So we should give them also, you know what I mean? That's actually what the blue economy does. The blue economy explains, do well, be sustainable, and earn money with it in multiple chains. So that's what that's the impact. If we try to not only save the money, save the planet, but also give them sort of the opportunity to earn with it, then we have them. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. Another point too, Sandra, is since the blue economy is already out there and pretty well established and endorsed by, you know, all these different institutions. I mean, if we marry us in this project as basically like almost like a flagship project for the blue economy as a concept, that would be something we could marry the two as an already pre-existing thing that they're interested in, perhaps.
Yes, but on a later stage, absolutely. Because
right.
It's just perfect project which goes along with the idea of them. And I sent a video today which explains the economy very well, because like you have waste, and the waste will be used to grow mushrooms on it and the multiple channels. That's it. So if we can make this like into it, it's perfect. But we need to do the pre-work, because also blue economy is economy, so they earn money with it. So you have sustainability, you make something good for the planet, but you also earn money with it. So these are the factors that go along with each other. So they like ideal people, but they always want to earn with it. So we need to have this always in mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Sandra, just in your circles, I mean, I'm sure a lot of the elite side of things, some of them just have to spend money at times, or even just taxes. I'm sure they're finding ways around taxes, obviously, but some people just be like, oh my God, I got to spend $1 billion in 2 months or else I lose it, kind of thing. Is that stuff out there?
Well,
I don't know.
I can't tell you insights about these circuits, how they work or how they think.
I got you.
Yep. I have something to say which directly addresses Sandra's concern.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so Sandra, for the money conversation, I would approach it in 2 ways. So, when I'm evaluating an investment, I'm concerned about 2 things. How much can I make? But what's my exposure? How much can I lose? Right? And so I'd first start with the exposure. How much can you lose? If we don't cool the planet, we're going to lose everything. So your whole portfolio, if you're worth 10 billion, that'll go down to 0 because you'll be dead, your children will be dead, your grandchildren will be dead, everyone's dead, and the money will go up in flames, literally. And then I would go on the positive side. Now, on the positive side, we can make money on solar thermal power generation. We can make money on food generation, growing kelp, etc. Right? We can make money on capturing rainwater with giant canopies of reflective material, catches the rain, channel it towards land, boom, you got fresh water. So those are just kind of the big 3, but there are many others as well. And so I would hit it from those 2 standpoints. Hey, look at this as an investment. What's your downside? What's your upside? And hit them both. But the downside ought to really wake them up. If we don't cool the planet by whatever means, Mercedes, Ford, anything in between, if we don't pick one of these cars, you're not going to get to work, right? And we're all going to die. So, and then the upside. But so does that address your concerns, Sandra?
It sounds very sweet, but it's not enough.
Right.
Okay, let's work on it. We'll work on it.
We'll work on it.
We work on it. I'm just bringing up the ideas, and I'm just bringing up the reality. So we need to have it in mind to work on these actions. So it's one thing is the product, let's say like this, or the idea, and the other thing to make it into action. And making it into action, there are several things required, and we just have them all in mind. And I'm quite happy that I'm now in this conversation here, because I think it's quite good to have me now into it and not like in 1 year. So we have already now in mind what is required to make this work. Because there are several projects ongoing. I get a lot of things on the table. And so why us? And why land? Land in the sea is also land. Land is always something very, very, well, they make wars for getting land. And actually with this project, we need land, right? Because you cannot go over it. You know what I mean? We need land. So why would the government allow us to use their land? You know what I mean? And they cannot use land for something else. They cannot make something grow. They cannot use it for just the ships, for military, for whatsoever. Why should they give it to us? Why is there benefit in giving it to us instead of making other projects reality? So this is something we need to really think about, not only the budget, but also the land, which is very, very important. You know what I mean?
And we could focus first the deployment of the mirrors in the oceans, just to kind of get the thing started. And it's actually something you can go out with your boat and touch it, like in the ocean as a first phase. And then as needed, we can start looking at, territories in the north for Arctic preservation. We can look at lands that are barren and just pretty much unusable right now due to climate change. Even deserts. Who's going to use a desert? That's another one.
For example, is something beautiful, because who needs it? Who needs it? Perhaps we can combine it with something else going along with it. Because one big project that is ongoing, and I love that project, is like the greening of
The deserts.
the desert. Because I've seen in Saudi Arabia, and there is a lot of desert, and it's a big hassle, and it's getting more and more. So we want to regrow it, greening it. So perhaps we can combine other ideas with ours. So we just like the
For a
win-win
full
situation.
package.
So that must be something that we can sort of combine. But we should use land, which is not so important to the government to use. So we should have this in mind as well, because land is very expensive. Yeah.
And Sandra, just as another point, from your experience, would this be coming off as total alarmist to them? Like, you're freaking us out. You're saying we're going to die in 20 years. Is that going to be too much of a heavy hit where they just shut down? They don't care. Yeah. It's kind of weird, right? So
Wait,
you need to understand we are overpopulated by 8.5 billion people. They would say 1.5 billion people is more than enough to run the planet, and the rest is just eating, drinking, and wasting. Let's put it there.
it is a reality. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That sounds awful. I think it's pretty awful. But it's not that they're concerned about that, so we cannot. They officially, of course, they care about the planet. They should. They should, and they need to, because there are people like me on the table as well. So they need to care about the planet, and but they are more caring about themselves. And they think they are safe, even though no starship would pick them up. And when Bill Gates is on his boat of 450 million that is ready in like, I don't know how many years, like 20, in 5 years it's ready. Also he will be killed because the waves will kill him anyway. So I mean, it's something like they don't think it long term. They think only about themselves and about the money and the impact they have there. They're different forces. We have to understand it's not only human forces. It goes a bit beyond a normal thinking.
Understood. Yep.
Yeah, it's not only humans talking here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. There is that piece of it. So one part too, just to add before Jamin speaks, the Club of Rome. Well, the Club of Rome, they did a program. I was watching. Club of Rome did Running Out of Time. Do you know that program? We're Running Out of Time initiative.
Of course. It's from my
Is that
dear
just a?
And it's from a very, very dear friend, and they're talking, and the Club of Rome will be also. There's a lot of going on in the Club of Rome. I cannot talk about it here, but everything at the moment is going through a change. So you have got here with you someone who really wants to make a change, because I'm fed up with it. This is why I have built up the Planetary Federation, because I really want to make a change, and I don't accept all that. So we will see how we can do good projects, but we just have to understand that these people that are decision makers, they are not good people always. They don't want to save the planet. They want you to think they save the planet because it sounds good. It's more manipulating, and who cares, you know? But they think differently, so we have to understand their things, and you know, and they work for money, for ego, for getting people into change, for getting people into order. Think like them and get them. So they cannot say we don't want that, because they will love the project when you get them, you know?
Yeah.
And don't think about them being good people. They are not good people.
Yeah.
They have the money. They really have the money, and they want to keep the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is really quite confidential what I'm saying here, but anyway. So we have to think it this way. if we want to make an impact, we have to get the evil ones on our side and make them understand that they have an impact which goes along their agenda, let's say it like this. Look at the Agenda 2030. Have you looked in it?
I
Do you
have.
know what is happening in all the burning? Have you
Yeah.
seen that there will be building smart cities and the waste around it? Of course, it's much easier to burn it down than to ask for any permissions. You understand how they are? Reality.
Yes. And this is
Really.
very, yeah, this is very, what do you say? It's, what do you call it? It's reality. It's reality. Yeah.
Therefore, I really, you're from Harvard, right? Therefore, I really, one day, give me the chance to talk to the people in Harvard, the students, really. I want really much, and I've seen myself in Oxford, but I think I should really talk to the students to make them understand before they go to work for the evil ones, what they're actually doing, and that their life is a mission. We really have to make a big impact. We really should make this project to make a change in thinking. We really should make them think that we have to do something good for the and that we people are not ready to just give up, that we come along with solutions and we fight for them. That's actually the big thing about it. Do you understand what I mean?
100%.
We don't give ourselves find solutions because we care about the planet. And it's a lovely planet. Some say this, some say that, but I really like it. Has a lot of things to offer, and it's our home. Anyway, we're stuck here. Yeah.
Right, right. And, you know, there's a lot of influences that want this planet to stay beautiful with the resources that are here. I mean, you know, it's a terrestrial world that's valuable to many others, right?
And best people.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Interesting.
Target. It's so
yeah.
easy,
So you're talking about almost brokering just almost like a ceasefire conversation. Yeah, understood. I want to just open it up to the room here. There's so many people in this room that I'm sure would like to dive in a little bit. James, why don't you speak? Your hand is raised.
Yeah, I just want to my slight bit of input, just basically agreeing there that if you want the backing of those who have the money, you have to appeal to their nature. So therefore, you have to show them that that it's prosperous to them in the end. Obviously, like before they're enticed to make any investment, they want to see that there's a payback. Obviously, like. But what if you told them that those barren lands that they thought were useless and dead and whatever could be revived? I'm not talking about the deserts now, because you can't revive a desert as such. That's natural desertification is a different thing. But there are barren lands now that have been destroyed because of the climate drying up river sources and everything else. What if those lands could be restored and become prosperous again? Like, you have to appeal to their nature, which is greed.
Right.
So let us talk about next steps.
Yeah, please do.
Who of you is sort of making sort of the who of you is sort of making the plan of the next required steps? Is it a group of you, or is it just one person who is actually doing that?
Jamin, why don't you speak on that? And I'm definitely helping to spearhead this, Sandra. I'm taking it on my behalf to just merge everyone that could participate in a meaningful way. I'm adding them to the conversation as we're doing it now. And I'm just basically taking point to just integrate a lot of these solutions together to make it something where we could package it and sell it in many different ways, right? So I'm doing a lot of that effort with Jamin in partnership with everything that he's building with this think tank and the entire human collective that's coming together with his platform. So Jamin, why don't you say anything to that?
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you. Sandra, it's so good to meet you. And I speak for many of us. I see lots of comments really appreciating the realism that you're bringing to this. And
you're welcome.
Thank you. And I really look forward to working with you for the long haul. And thank you so much for being a good person in the, at the table where not every.
Invite me to Harvard. I want these students to understand that this planet is worth it to save it and not to ruin it. Can you please make sure that can you just bring me to Harvard? I really am.
We will organize that.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please do that because I think it's time. It's time. I should really go more and more into young people. It's important. It's time.
And the thing is, as I'm sure you know, in this country, the students who go to Harvard are the sons and daughters of presidents, of senators, of congressmen, of billionaire industrial, you name it. And when you get it into their ear that night, they're going to say, "Mom and Dad, you need to hear this," right? The problem is way bigger than we thought, but there's also a solution, and there's really good people like Sandra and Dr. Ye Tao working on it. Help us out. Here's what you can do. So in your speech, let's map out the psychology of what they're going to hear and then what they're going to say to their parents that night on the phone. Let's map that all out. And so we'll do it holistically. And that gets to a point that Dylan was raising, which is the multi-prong approach. Yes, we're going to go after the multi-billionaire sociopaths and try to appeal to them, both in the private sector, in the government, and in these, what I would call places in between, like the Club of Rome, because the Club of Rome really probably pulls the strings of the Italian government and who knows, many other governments probably.
And I'm moving to Rome.
Pardon?
You understand?
Yeah.
And I'm going to move to Rome.
All roads lead to Rome.
Yeah.
Right. It's still true. Yep.
Yeah. And they've got influence with.
Yeah, but Vatican's very influential as well too.
Yeah, I mean, they have influence with the Vatican, the Italian government, United Nations, et cetera, on and on and on and on. So I love what you're saying. So that's one approach. We need to appeal to them, and what appeals to them is money and power, more money, more power, more influence, more credit, more for them. And so when we're talking with them, we need to play the kind of music that they're going to want to hear. It's that simple.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Now
you got it.
When we go to the universities, when we go to the nonprofits, and when we go to the public in general, we might change. We might change up the instruments and change up the music. Nothing wrong with that, right?
Correct.
So we might tell them how to play the music to be heard, because of the day need. It's always the same. You have nice projects that are fantastic, wonderful, wow, lovely, and then you get out of the room and no one is listening to it. They say, "Oh, it was nice, interesting talk, but let's make money now," Totally. But we want to stay in the room. So it's always the same. We have to understand they are both sides to be in balance and to be to taking into consideration. And the money side, which is very powerful. We need to get them on the table and to say, okay, we do it. Yeah, that's it.
Exactly as that face looks. Yeah, we'll do it.
Now you understand how I'm talking with them.
Yeah.
Now, to answer your next question, Sandra, who's doing the work? It's really all of us collectively, right? I was lobbying Professor Guy McPherson for years about solar radiation management, reflection, et cetera. And he kind of took it seriously, but then when he met Dr. Ye Tao at Harvard, then he really took it seriously and he put us together. And then I say, listen, why don't both of you come on this program and we can leverage the collective intelligence. And that's really the key of what we're doing here. So just over the course of this video conference, if you look in the chat, some people are messaging privately, others publicly, but basically they're all saying, how can we help? I can do this, I can build a website, I can do graphic design, I can do marketing. So this is a big collective effort. It's not part of any one organization or anything like that. We're all pitching in and working together. Dr. Ye Tao of Harvard needs us as much as we need him, because he's just been on this very narrow academic track, all right? And our message to him is, listen, you need to come play with us because we can look at the situation holistically. We can introduce you to Sandra. You can listen to Sandra, right? We can work together on the proposal that she needs to take to the Club of Rome and these 10 other versions of the proposal to these 10 other audiences, right? This is all a lot of work. And we have a, as Ye Tao would say in Chinese, the Chinese have a saying, many hands make heavy work light. And so this is the place of many hands. So we're all working together.
It is always working together. But it's always a few people that need to have the project in the hands and to just make it really step by step in a I'm very German, very step by step by step. Otherwise, it's just everywhere,
Jawohl.
But it's I think what would be interesting also to see if there's other projects which you can sort of collaborate together with, because that they also need land, or let's say water, whatever. So perhaps you can find something that we can have more impact even, because what we should not be like there are some people that say it's my project, it's just me, but perhaps we can sort of be more open to, if we have some other projects that are similar ideas, that we can merge our ideas and just have even more impact. So we should be really open in many ways, and also be know what are the other projects ongoing, Of the other universities, they must have done some work or something. So we should also make the students, the young people are so important. I mean, the new media is so important. I mean, they have such an impact now that you can make politics and drive people crazy in mindsets in media, in digital media. So we need to have also an impact in Harvard, the people, the youngsters. So we will have when we have it done, we get into the marketing communication part of it. And I have been running a very known publicity agency for 19 years. So I'm good in that. So we go into next step, how we make it public, how we make the big bang, the impact on several medias to just make it go. But now we just go step by step, and having in mind that we have to get the good people and the bad people loving our project. Okay? So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandra. Really, thank you.
Welcome to my world. And thank you for introducing your world. So
you're so welcome.
Let's connect and stay connected. And thank you very much for your enthusiasm. We need that on this planet, and everything can be done. It's just energy, flowing energy.
Exactly. Thank you so much, my dear. You're amazing. Signing off, mate. Signing off. Yep. Talk to you soon.
And bye. Bye.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
I'm really quick, just to take the mic for a moment. I just want to let everyone maybe just share some. I'm sure everyone got a blast of energy there. So if everyone wants to weigh in for the next 10 minutes before I introduce another awesome person to the conversation.
Well, I know Jordan has texted a couple of really cool ideas about carbon tax, and also enticing the construction industry to get involved. They make gobs of money. Anyway, Jordan, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just as we were talking, those were kind of some of the ideas, because I know this is my first time at one of these meetings, and if anything I say has already been discussed, my apologies in advance. But some of the things I kind of thought of right off the bat is, number one, the biggest problem we would face with this is definitely marketing. Marketing it to the people who can make it happen, because construction on this sort of a scale is going to cost a lot of money. So in order to appeal to those people, we could construct some sort of deal where A, they would make money off the construction, B, they may get some sort of tax break on the back end that would further entice them, C, create a large amount of jobs in that area, which at least I know in the United States would be very appealing to the states who may not be as open to it as just an environmental thing. And, you know, at least here in the States, we know that the big thing you have to do in order to get something large like this to go through is to have it appeal to Congress as well. So a big part of that, I think, is ensuring that this would appeal to both sides of the aisle in a way that they would want to pass it. Another thought I had, and again, you know, you guys were talking about the costs of this earlier, so I don't know if this is cost restrictive or anything like that, but combining the mirror technology with solar energy technology, I don't know if that's been explored at all, but that I think that's kind of a really cool way to go. Lots of opportunities for tax benefits there. Lots of opportunities to get energy companies involved because, okay, the problem with them switching to green energy is they're making all this money on oil. But if we give them the opportunity, and I know it sounds awful, but if this is the way we got to do it, we got to do it. If we give them the opportunity to be like, all right, fine, make your billions of dollars doing it with green energy now instead of oil, well, then that's how we get it done. And if that's how we have to save the environment, that's how we have to save the environment. But yeah, those were just some of the sort of ideas that kind of floated through my head at first.
That actually was a great injection there. I did want to introduce my other dear friend and partner in the humanitarian system integrator space, Zion. If you have any weigh-ins or comments, you have pretty much a Rolodex of amazing tech that might be able to, you know, think about ways of tackling some of those points that Sandra made about, you know, how can we make this, you know, an ROI type of thing? Can we start looking at what you have for layering some solar filaments on these things? I don't know. I just would love to hear you speak.
Hey, nice to meet everybody. This is Zion Estes, and yeah, cool conversation. It was interesting to finally hear I've never gotten to hear a physicist that, you know, speak his thoughts on the heating science. I'm not a physicist or a mathematician, but I understand electricity pretty well and heat. And my I think the question I had for what was the gentleman's name?
Dr.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay, right? Yeah, I wanted to ask him sometime what are his physics model for how the light reflection works, because in my mind it would heat up the atmosphere because there's so many carbon particulates. So what I want to develop long term, I'm already 20 years deep in it, is a system similar to that, but the only difference is building a condensation vacuum. So I've been developing a dual toroidal semiconductors for about 20 years, where I can, you know, use it for different applications. But it's such a huge subject, the atmosphere, you know, so it's a very complicated engineering feat. Even though he may think it's simple, I think there's a reason why it's not being done like that yet. Currently, what's being done is, you know, all the particulates do heat up and they do reflect light back into the atmosphere. And that's what causes part of the heating, but it's not a huge amount of heating, you know, but it's significant enough that on 9/11, when they grounded all the planes, the temperatures dropped over 1 degree, right? So
Rose, but yeah.
Dropped. When they grounded the planes, the temperatures dropped about, I think, almost 2 degrees, something like that. But there is an effect called global dimming. I don't know if any of you ever watched that video and heard that science, but
yes, Zion, this is an entire community that's almost grown up on it.
Okay. Yeah. So my thought process would be, you know, to pursue that, because when you bounce light, right, at particles, let's say carbon particles, for instance. I don't know if you guys have seen the test of what happens when you beam light in a vacuum at a carbon surface. It moves. So you cause excitation in the atmosphere. So a lot of that science, you'd have to build a condensation pillars to pull down the water to cause condensation, and you know that's where you could affect the the condensation. Because if you're just shooting light up into the atmosphere, that's just going to heat up the particles in the atmosphere ultimately.
No, actually, if I can interject there, Zion, briefly.
Yep.
So here's what happens. And my uncle Frank Shively is also a physicist whose his work is cited in 2 different Nobel Prizes, and we've explored this extensively. Here's the basic idea. Okay, so indeed we have particles in the atmosphere. You got 2 things in the atmosphere. You got gases and you got particles. The gases. The visible spectrum light, which is what's heating up the planet from the sun, that's the energy that comes from the sun, that passes through all the gases, right? The gases say, come on through, come on through. Now, the particulates, you mentioned global dimming, those reflect away, those and the clouds, which are also, you can think of as particles or droplets of water. So anything physical that's solid or liquid droplets that form clouds, or solid particles from, coal burning power plants and whatnot, all of those reflect visible spectrum back into space. So that's a good thing, a really good thing, right? But now let's talk about the 98% or whatever of light that passes through, that gets past those particles. And then they hit mirrors on the surface of the Earth. Those mirrors, they receive visible spectrum, and just like your bathroom mirror, they reflect it back out. So what you're suggesting is, and it's true, a certain percentage of those photons that are now heading back up towards space will get absorbed or reflected by particles, but that is a super minimal secondary, tertiary effect. The main effect is you're reflecting sunlight back into space, and that cools the planet. Case closed. If you got more questions about that, let's take it offline, but that's now well-established science.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So aside from that, we're getting geared up to start building out fully vertically integrated hemp universities and institutes here coming up right here in Florida. So that's more of along the lines of the stuff that I'm doing. We're working on that. So we'll be producing, food products, distillates, isolates, nano water soluble, liposomes, and then we're building out a whole building company. We have a catalyst that can turn dirt into bricks. And then we have a target eco city right here that's funded between LA and Vegas that we're going to be working towards serving. And I thought, it came up in the conversation, about different models, but, planting trees is a good thing, and that's a simple way, right, to generate revenue and to do the whole carbon credit thing. So we have an architect that's a 40-year veteran in carbon credits and carbon and plant trees and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of infrastructure that's already done that nobody has to spend a lot of time, reproducing, because there's groups that have already done the 40 years of work that are ready to deploy type of situations. So that's kind of what I've been doing over the years, just finding groups that have already done the massive amount of work that it takes to take on some of those layers, and just bringing them together to do the work, and speed up the process. Because here we are, right? We've all been at all of our stuff for who knows how long, but at the end of the day, we got to get things that are practical, that can be implemented, and get off the ground. So that's kind of where we're at. We're just working. We're going to be working with the Florida State Universities, funding that first hemp project, and we're just going to build a workforce with the kids in the universities, because that's a doable model. But anyway, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I could go a lot deeper into all the tech and sciences that we have, but be more important to hear where everybody's at overall, collectively.
Would you speak a little bit, Zion, on some of the, if we did have floating mirrors, or we were like regreening the desert as a partnership project? I mean, are there things you could maybe offer to add on that could be layered as part of a holistic solution? Even like the idea of refreezing the Arctic, you have some of that technology that's pretty incredible.
Like I said, I'm not really a super high level scientist, when it comes to the physics of those kind of things, but I do know other companies that have talked about that that think that refreezing the poles are doable. It sounds doable to me, just like the mirror tech. You know, everybody's saying that that's doable too. So those are definitely potentials. And as far as all the full scale sustainable infrastructure, anything to do with like food, water, power, data, telecom, and building, we have all the infrastructure and all the partners to roll that out in the now. You know, the catalyst for building is what makes this all work, because this new catalyst that we're going to be utilizing can turn dirt into concrete, and it's at 300 psi, harder than concrete. So with that, I mean, we could create sustainable buildings, you know, made out of anything, out of any sand, limestone, crystals, dirt, and then plant a lot of trees. One of the architects we're working with has a carbon wood, and it captures the most carbon, and it's the fastest growing tree in the world. So it's pretty exciting what they've modeled with that. And they just call it carbon wood, and it has a really high burn rate. So that's the immediate layer that I'm going to try to connect up that architect to the university so that we can pass all the building materials. That's going to take a good probably half year, get everything all LEED certified and passed with building code. You know, and then we have a opportunity to work to serve out this big eco city, and they're already funded with, I don't know how much, but over $1 billion, and it's 100,000 buildings that are going to be built out between LA and Vegas, medical centers, structures for homeless, you know, veterans, and it's a really, really big model. I just met that group the other day. So those are things that are imminent and that are moving forward. I am going to meet several other major investors that want to do a whole hemp fully vertically integrated facility right here in San Diego. They've already secured 450 acres. So just that kind of stuff, you know, building, you know, and then the whole viral threats are there's a lot of technology that needs to be deployed right there that's super easy and quick as well, that can generate major capital to help fund a lot of this other stuff. But so that's you know, and then we've got all the, you know, we've got media, you know, all the media side, that's easy. You know, we have 4K, 8K video channels we can turn on overnight and promote any of these campaigns and projects to either raise donations and raise capital, you know. So those are the immediate steps that I'm taking with a couple of groups already. We're already just building out about 40 websites right now, to just put out the awareness of these different things that are happening.
Fantastic, Zion. Thank you so much for contributing all that. And I just want to open up the room to any comments and anything to the discussion regarding Sandra, Zion, everything that we're working on. If you want to add in, anybody.
I do have a question. Can you guys hear me okay? This is Jeff.
Yes. Wonderful.
Hey,
yes.
Zion, how you doing?
Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
Good. How's Unify coming on? Unify Access with that platform you had for video conferencing. Is all that done?
Oh, I dropped Drupal. That is pretty much stagnant. I mean, I'm just developing in WordPress now, but
can you still do that? Can you still do it with like up to 60 people at one point you had, I think, a couple years ago?
When you say, you mean just the video conferencing part?
Yeah, exactly. That's something we kind of need, right?
Yeah, that's all still there. We could utilize and implement that quite easily.
I would love to beta test that with this group here. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah, there's that. And then the thing that we're waiting on another gentleman that we know, Dylan knows, I think Jeff knows too, Michael Short. Michael Short's gearing up to launch all the blockchain platforms he's been developing for, probably over 10 years now. So those are all going live. So we have, seed to sale tracking, logistic blockchains that are available to start implementing into industries. And I heard Sandra mention something about media, right? Or I don't know if she said VR.
Her background. Yeah, she has a background in that industry.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so the media layer, you know, there's some revolutionary cost-effective hardware that just came out. Intel came out with like these I forgot what they call it, neuromorphic, I think, quantum computers, and they're simple. So what another aspect besides all the infrastructure layers that as I get some of these things going, we're gonna start trying to model, you know, some of the VR, so that we can crowdfund projects, whether they're small or large. That way, cause you know, it's kind of maybe an easier process than trying to get investors and donors on board, because that's always takes time and a lot of meetings and stuff like that. So that's something that we could crowdfund as a community. There's enough VR software to like, you know, structure some of these projects in 3D and then start building out apps, and then, you know, or crowdfund everything, crowdfund the whole plan, the sites. That's largely how I see us rolling out the projects that we're doing. Is we're gonna eventually just, you know, scan everything with 3D, whether it's LiDAR or scanners indoors, and then design a whole model in 3D and then just crowdfund it, and hopefully bigger backers and donors come on board as well.
So you have the capability design of like we did some of these video media campaigns, like you got some CGI engines that we could start putting some of these visions out there, visualizing.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
all I'm connected to a lot of the pioneers in those realms. They're not per se like these are all heavy duty engineers in the industry. So we would need to raise budgets and sponsors so that they can
Sure.
pay to build it all out. But yeah, the technology's there. We have a few major VR systems that are licensed. They cost about $50K for implementing VR on the web as well. So the reality is, even to kind of just get our feet wet, get started, I would need to raise probably, like, I don't know, a good minimum 50 to 100K. That way we have equipment and we can start actually modeling some of these projects. So that I have a couple of groups that are onboarding in LA too, so that are building TV stations, and they do have reach all the way to China as well over TikTok and CCTV. But I don't know if that's useful. But you know, China's a really giant audience, but it's definitely tight casted. You know. But,
sure. No, all good stuff. All good stuff. Any other comments or questions, guys, in the room? We might just all be blown away.
Yeah. So,
I was just getting an image, by the way, Zion, of like, imagine if we imagine you know all the elite we're talking about. Imagine we just put them in a VR set, and we just be like, all right, just you know, put this goggle on and just play through this media that we created. We could just basically do like very, very like 360. They're in this world, seeing what we're building, seeing the effects. I mean, you're just on a tour flying around.
That's like the next level, because what happens is with any projects, they always take a huge amount of paperwork, years or decades of research. I mean, for big stuff, and then, you know, a lot of it gets lost in translation. I would say even when you meet people, you're in person, you're able to like go through it pretty well. But still, to be able to visualize, right? Because our brains work with images, right? With 3D, with light, and to be able to see everything in 3D, so that people really get it. Like when we say oh this or that, whether it's the mirrors or setting up a community or building a city or building a structure or even teaching physics or even teaching, you know, plant biology or human biology, to be able to see it in 3 dimensions is just going to change everything, because then people will get it instantly, and they'll be like, oh wow, I'll put my money in that, you know, or I'll donate, or I'll invest, or I'll contribute, you know. And so that's I think once we get to that stage of having that type of 3D workflow, we're going to see the acceleration of participation on a scale that the world has never seen before. And it's already there. Like, the technologies are all fragmented and they're out there. We just have to just say, this is it. We want to do these things, build it in 3D, and then just do a crowdfunding campaign, you know. And I think it'll be amazing to see how many people come on board. You know, and not everybody gets the 3D part, but you know, once they see it in real world applications, it'll catch on really fast. And it was kind of neat to hear the scientist say that he was a MRI engineer. Interestingly, that's the higher level target that we're modeling is off of the MRI machines to scan, you know, the human body. And the first two things that I'm working on are human biology, and then also plant biology, and then, you know, and then water science and stuff like that. Electrophysics are very fascinating too. To be able to see how electrophysics works both on the surface and within materials is an important thing for just learning, you know. So anyway, I could ramble on, but it'd be cool to hear everybody else's thoughts.
Don't be shy.
Well, I think a lot of us are a little bit shell shocked by the reality check that Sandra delivered.
Understandable, by the way. I know it's.
You know, and
yeah.
I have kind of mixed feelings. I mean, on the one hand, just to put it in perhaps unfair, blunt terms, we go to them and we pander and we say, oh, you want more money? Hey, here's ways that you can make more money off of this. Another, let's call it the carrot and the stick. That would be the carrot. The stick would be to, you know, building off of what Zion is saying, go directly to the public and say, hey, you know, we need to get this done. Build it into a mass popular movement where the public is demanding of their governments and even of their of their nonprofit organizations that they send checks to every quarter. Hey, you know, how about it? And even get some of these folks on the record. You know, here's all the governments and powerful institutions, whether it's, you know, Bilderberger, whatever the heck group, Club of Rome, Vatican, U.S. government, you name it. Where do you stand on SRM, right? So that the public can know, and the public can bring on some heat, right? Because we're dying here, right?
Yeah.
They think that they're sitting pretty in their $100 million bunker, their $200 million yacht, whatever the hell. They're deluded is the bottom line, right? They're suffering from delusion. And there's two ways out of delusion. One is enlightenment. Another one is a gun to the head. Hey, you know, a political gun to the head. We're not going to reelect you. We're going to oust your government if you don't get on board and become a part of this. So carrot or stick? I don't know. I mean, that's what we need to focus on here.
Right, and like she was saying too, it's going to take like a you know, simultaneous deployment of different packaging of different, you know, what are people interested in. There's going to be one package for those that are just interested to be like, oh, I guess I'll do it. You know, it has all these things and they're not that excited about it, like the club. But then we're going to package it to the universities. We're going to package it to the social nonprofit movements. We're going to package it to Greta. You know, I think what she was saying too was just, you know, we can do all this simultaneously. And again, the Club of Rome and all these groups, they're putting on their nice green face of like, yes, we care, but of course they really don't. But, you know, it's still going to serve their interests as well that, you know, hey, the Club of Rome is doing something or blah, blah, blah. You know, they're kind of on the bandwagon. They might be even funding it, but, you know, it's giving them sort of that somewhat good face to the world that they're participating at least. And then, of course, simultaneously, we're doing crowdfunding. We're doing, you know, Up to Give, for instance, all these other measures simultaneously, you know, makes the most sense, right? So, you know, that's what this is all about with collective intelligence. We're going to be kind of working in different silos simultaneously, right? So, you know, Sandra's silo is going to be working with the scary folks, and you know, we're going to have our other silos working on, you know, with people that are, you know, passionate like Greta, that just want to get a solution on her platform that can kind of get everyone based and focused instead of gluing themselves to doors, right? So it's just, we got to get like 5 different packaging media oriented ways of, you know, sharing the story, sharing the good news, and meet everyone's bottom line of what they're trying to achieve together. So it's like brokering literally like a planetary ceasefire of all these different factions with all these different interests and just finding that common ground in each section, you know?
Yeah, it's interestingly, that type of project was like my last final, you know, thing I wanted to be a part of developing. And I do have a lot of the core type of technology I've been developing just about done. The only problem is I have not been able to identify manufacturers that can build my semiconductors properly. I mean, I'm assuming IBM and Samsung might be the only two and Honeywell that could build out these semiconductors. And so one idea is we're going to get this, hopefully if things pan out, we'll get this manufacturer facility running at the Florida State University. We're going to be pressing out boards, tiles, bricks, all that kind of stuff. In the later phase, I want to implement the superconductive materials. Glass is very fascinating. If we could get the glass manufacturer, it'd be cool to be able to manufacture the back ends of the glass and experiment, you know, with the semiconductor architecture that I'm building to see how we could combine it somehow. But a lot of the boards and the bricks and the tiles that we're making, we're going to be growing them with mycelium and other bacteria and other types of methodologies with other you know, catalysts and stuff like that. So that it would be interesting, but we would need to figure out to get some support for from your guys' side on how to move the whole thing into manufacturing. You know, I don't know if you guys are at that scale yet, but it's not a complicated thing to push forward, you know, on the manufacturing layer.
Beautiful. Hey, Dylan, quick question for you since you're moderating this section. Do you see that James has his hand raised? I just want to know if you can see that or not.
I was just multitasking on texting, so I wasn't quite observing everything. But yes, I see James.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you see that he has his blue hand electronically raised?
Yep. I think everyone can see when people raise their hands, right?
I didn't know since I'm the one who's doing. You know,
Wait, what is this about hand raising?
Oh, when you can on your app, you can raise your hand when you want to ask something.
Really?
Put your hand up.
This is
button.
brand new to me. I'm gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah, you go to. I think you go to. I actually don't.
Participants.
Go
If
to
you click the participant button,
Oh,
then you have all those options.
there it is. The
Yeah.
light bulb just happened for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. If anyone else doesn't know that, by the way, just go to participants and you have all those, you know, participating options. But James, why don't you add to the conversation here? You got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. I just think I'm enjoying everything, but I'm agreeing with both of you. All know with all of you and all the points that you're making. But I agree more so here, well, not more so. Like Jamin is right in the sense, like, and you're right in the sense that we got to package this for whoever it is we're presenting it to, and obviously to make it enticing for whoever we're packaging it to. But Jamin is in the essence of what we're trying to present to anybody, and Jamin's right about is that the essence is the, you know, the overall problem for everyone, where, you know, that we're all in the same boat. So, you know, he's right, like we got to bring this to the public as well. This is a Gandhi style kind of a thing, as well as technology and everything else. We got to let the public know, let the awareness know, and push for political change, and push for the support, and push for the common sense of the whole lot of it. Like, these people in politics and everything else are elected into position because they're there to, you know, as I said, they're there for the people on the street. They're there to look after the people. Well, you know, the people vote for them. Once the people are aware of the issues and the severity of the issues, as Jamin says, then I don't think, you know, regardless of how you package it, then it becomes a priority for everybody in the same boat.
Beautiful. Very good.
100%. Yep.
Dharmendra, you had raised your hand a moment ago, but I don't see it raised now. Did you want to comment?
No, I was just showing the lady who was asking about the hand wave. I was just doing it a few times. So people,
Sure.
That's all.
Jordan has his hand raised. Go ahead, Jordan.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just kind of want to add to the current topic of discussion. Of course, awareness is really important. Education is really important. Getting, facts out there, I think primarily about climate change, how it works and how we can fight against it is important. But also, I think underestimating cognitive bias would be a mistake. And whatever percentage of the population we'll be able to reach, it doesn't matter how well we package it from a scientific perspective. There are always going to be a percentage of people who will reject it no matter what, for whatever reason, because they don't believe in it, because things they've seen before might have caused them to reject that sort of evidence for whatever reason. Everyone has different reasons for that sort of thing. So I think while, yes, it's important for us to work on awareness, I think the majority of people who are going to support this for what it is would already support it for what it is. And because of that, I think it's just as important for us to really focus on making sure that this can be, a profitable investment for the folks who would be behind allowing this to happen.
So I like everything you said, and you're right. But I wonder if, based on the premise that, the people that are going to support it are just going to support it right now, point blank, would we be better off focusing our efforts on two pieces then? So one, getting investors, and so just purely about profit. And then two, once we have investors, getting the public informed, because it's not about getting more opinion, it's about trying to tell people what this is in the first place and why it's happening. So does it make sense to have a two-pronged approach versus a 50-prong?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what I was alluding to. I was saying, yeah, awareness is important, and we definitely should push for awareness, and I'm not sweeping that to the side, but I'm just saying that while doing that, it's just as important for us to make sure that we appeal to the people who wouldn't otherwise be appealed to with it, if this is something that's going to be successful, sustainable, and widespread.
Okay, I hear you. I agree with you. I also think that effort is something that needs to happen after we've dealt with investors and got them on board.
And that's fair. I don't disagree.
I completely agree. It needs to happen, and I'm with you on how it needs to happen and what our goals need to be. But I do think that that's a stepped approach. That's a further step down the road, but we can plan for it, absolutely.
I mean, I can understand. I mean, investors are so just so I can wrap my head around what this is. You say we secure money first, and then we worry about appealing to the sides of the two-pronged argument.
Yeah.
Go to market when you're ready, right? Is that what you're saying,
Exactly.
Abigail?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Yeah. That's right in line with the sort of thing that I was thinking.
I believe James has his hand raised.
Thank you. No, I don't entirely agree with that, to be quite honest with you, because we don't have any time to be exploring any one avenue.
Yeah, simultaneous.
We don't have time to be appealing to the egos of the people that we think have the money. We have no time to do that. We have time. We need to do that, but we have only time to appeal to, like, we can't explore just one avenue, and if that goes nowhere, then say, okay, let's go back and try another one. We don't have that time or that luxury or anything else like that. I mean, we appeal and we package this in the way that we need to appeal it to the egos
different groups
or the profiteers. But we, on top of packaging it for a profit for the profiteers or whatever egos need to be appeased, we need to also drill it home to them as well, the severity of the situation. But regardless of whether they believe it or jump on board, I believe that we have an obligation. I believe somebody said that once in one of the videos I was saying that if a doctor has the information that you're probably going to pass away at sooner or later, and he doesn't tell you, then he's responsible for malpractice. Now we know the information, and we have the information available to us, and we need to let this information out to the wider public so that they are aware, and that the veil that's been put over and the cloud that they're living in at the moment has been wiped away from their face, and that they see the severity of the problem, but that they also see that there are solutions. They are being worked on and have been worked on for the last 2 years, but there are solutions. There are ways, and we can tackle it. And I think Bernie Sanders had the best idea I ever seen when I seen somebody going to try and run for the president of America. He did it without corporate backing. He appealed to the people. If they believed in him, then they back him, and they paid $17 each to do it. I can't see why, if the rest of the world thought that we were all going to kick the bucket in the next 5 years, that they wouldn't pay a few bob extra to try and stop that happening, and do whatever they could in their power, regardless of finances, to try and stop that happening. Finances are not our priority, our only priority here. Our main priority here is saving everybody. End the story, like.
But if we don't have the finances to back that up, how do we?
As I said,
how do we fund it?
The Bernie Sanders approach.
Okay,
we tell
well,
them the truth.
Bernie has multiple decades under his belt. There's public awareness of who he is. He has a brand. There's a whole lot behind that we don't have.
Well,
I love him, but he lost. He lost.
I'm sorry, no, but what we have is what people on the ground have is eyes in their head and ears on their head as well. And if they're told the right information, and possibly as well, what I'm thinking as an idea would be to actually to make them more aware of the situation, apart from the fact that we can all look out the window and see that the weather is going crazy around the world. Like, apart from that, if we give them a slight indication of what or how bad it's going to get by the end of the year, which is possible because we already know what situations are kicking into place at the moment, and we can kind of have a general idea of what is coming down the road by the end of this year alone. We were able to tell people the truth and tell them what to expect by the end of the year. And even though they may have not believed the whole entire story, I think the evidence will be self-evident when at the end of the year anyway. You know what I mean? Irregardless, we still have to tell them the truth. Sorry, no, for going on too long.
Now, just to add into, a strategy that we're pursuing very quickly, especially with Jeff's group with One Planet Solutions, that whole other side of the fence, the general public that is at large here, using again the influence of some key people like Greta with her megaphone and her endorsement of something like this on her platform, that's going to reach millions of people pretty instantly. There will be accelerated growth just alone with her, not to mention her colleagues and the likes of everybody, everyone that's in that sphere that's also partnered with her. They're going to listen to her, mainly because they like her, and they understand that she's the voice for so many people that don't have a voice. So again, making strategic partnerships in these two spheres, the general public and then basically the Illuminati, basically. So, you gotta balance those two, do it simultaneously. Greta is going to go faster. Greta is going to go further. It's going to be quicker. There's a larger connectivity going on. The other groups, the Club of Rome, they're going to be private. They're going to be secretive. They're going to take their time. We're going to go to events, whatever we're invited to. It's going to be very closed door. So there's going to be a public door and a closed door side of this project. If I'm seeing it right,
Yes, I agree. The way it's coming out, there's a public, there's a private, and we have to cater to both. I think going purely on a grassroots Bernie campaign, I think that alone is going to be more difficult than doing both. But yes, simultaneous, there's going to be two different stories that we're going at, and I think that'll work.
I agree, and that's exactly what I was advocating for. Go both routes. We don't have time to take one.
Right. Not one or the other, both. Correct.
Oh, definitely.
And I just want to make a shout out to something that we've accomplished already, which is very, very successful and growing in success, that might be passing right in front of us, under our noses. And that is what we're doing right here, building an open source collective intelligence. And one of the successes is right now, at this moment, Greta joining this conversation, which we're recording and broadcasting and all that, that is now a real possibility. Not thanks to me, not thanks to you, thanks to Dylan and the good folks.
And Jeff and Lawrence.
I was about to say, Dylan invited Jeff and Lawrence, right? And so do you see how this is organically growing? This is on a whole different level. This is not appealing to people like Bernie, trying to get them to send us $17. This is not going to sociopaths in Rome and saying, hey, you're a billionaire, I can double your money. No. This is us coming together and saying, how do we figure out the whole of it, right? And right now, we're still relatively few in number, but we're growing, and that's crucial. And once Greta gets on here, oh my goodness, the block party.
And anticipate massive growth, right? Yeah. And so basically what we're seeing collective intelligence become is like almost like a peace deal broker right in the middle. It's like almost a synergizing kind of level playing field where we're basically bringing two sides of the coin together and having a platform to basically be that broker, as if we're doing a peace deal, just for the common aims of making sure we all have a little more time to figure out how we're going to live together as a collective species. That's all we're really trying to buy, is just more time to work things out. There's just so many problems beyond this. So it's just about, let's just get a level playing field. If everyone wants to keep living well, even on the huge wealth stratas, they're not going to have fun in a bunker if we fail. So, we just have to meet people where they're at and be that, it's like a peace broker. I can't even, I don't know, but that's kind of what it seems to be leading up to. That's what it seems to be leading up to, positioning wise. We're just we're the stabilizer in a way. Anyway.
Yeah.
I ramble.
No, that's all right. I think the thing is, it's a little bit difficult to imagine at this moment because there's dozens of us. But once we go into hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands of us, we will be able to divide and conquer. There will be entire video conference rooms dedicated to how do we appeal to the sociopaths? How do we stroke their ego?
Yep. Sandra will lead that one.
And that's the sociopath, Nino. Yeah, that's right, exactly. Sandra will lead that. And meanwhile, there'll be others who are like, how do we appeal to the masses? Others who will be saying, how do we grow collective intelligence? Others will be saying, how do we get Sandra into Harvard to give a speech, and what should that speech be? Others going to the nonprofits and saying, hey, you're allegedly here to help save life on Earth. This is the top priority. Can we please share with you about this? We've got a whole team that's dedicated to basically market to nonprofits, right? So what I'm saying is we can have,
brilliant,
in numbers, we can have hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands eventually, as collective intelligence grows exponentially. We can have hundreds of thousands of different video conference rooms specializing in all the different niches which roll it all up. Just like a massive corporation that has all these different product lines and all these different functions and all that.
Compartmentalization. Yep.
Exactly, compartmentalization, but then at kind of the C-level, which this meeting currently is, the beginning of a C-level look at the whole of it.
Integration, yep.
Exactly. And we're gonna have cross-pollination across the different groups and all that. So this is just the beginning. We ain't seen nothing yet. So as far as I'm concerned, priority number one is grow the collective superintelligence so that we can have a big enough brain that can parallel process all these different strategic paths, many of which are going to be synergistic relative to each other, right? It could be that the nonprofit groups figure out a way to convince the sociopaths, or vice versa, right? So anyway, my bets are on collective superintelligence, what we're doing right here, right now. This is real progress, and we need to accelerate this.
We got to be prepared for the growth because it's coming.
It is coming fast and furious. We need to orchestrate it, nurture it, kind of like in Harry Potter where they ended up with that dragon egg, which cracked open, and then you've got this exponentially growing dragon. What do we do with that? We need to be responsible for it. We need to nurture its growth, but also be prepared for it, as Dylan said. Now, in 3 minutes, we're going to be joined by Michael Gaio, who is another regular presenter here on the Collective Intelligence Block Party. He's going to be talking mythos, reframing narratives. His whole big thing is writing a new story for humanity, which is a key part of everything we're doing here, by the way. So he'll be on from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific time, starting in a couple of minutes. And everyone's welcome for all of this. This is open to everyone, and that's part of the magic of the Block Party. Is there's no one's checking you at the door. Just come on in, and then after 1 hour with Michael Gaio, approximately, we'll then shift gears and go for 2 more hours on solar radiation management. And I think where we're leaving the discussion right now is probably exactly where we need to pick up when we resume in an hour or a little over an hour. Anyway.
So I've been taking notes this whole time.
Yep.
Just so I'm on the right page with you, Jamin, I want to make sure that where we want to pick up is this strategizing, trying to plan and have tangible goals and who is responsible for what until we move to the next step, right?
Love it, love it, love it.
Okay, just want to make sure we have
100%.
goals and that I've got it laid out.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's why you're here.
I got this.
Beautiful. Thank you, Abigail. Alrighty.
And thank you, everyone, by the way. I just want to say, too, thank you, everyone, for those I invited as well. Thank you just for being part of this conversation. It's very, very important to me. I just feel like this is definitely something that needs to get done with everything else that are amazing that we're doing. I'm just so happy that we had this conversation, and you create quite a wonderful, welcoming space for some of these characters that just have all these different viewpoints that they're trying to change within the system, and you just allowed it to be a very wonderful space. And again, they're going to come back. So I really appreciate everyone's time on this, and we will circle back on SRM in an hour. So thank you so much for hosting, Jamin, and everybody. It's going to be great. There's so much momentum. There were some points we'd even cover that are actually happening, but we'll do that in the next hour from now. So thank you again.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Dylan. Melissa has a comment. I'm going to take a little bio break, but keep it rocking, and let's welcome Michael Gaio when he shows up. Go ahead, Melissa.
Thanks, Jamin. I just wanted to read something from the Hopi prophecy, because listening to all the conversations, I really feel like I stepped into this giant fairy tale of dragons and kings and knights and demons, and and it really is alive. And the Hopi prophecy talks about this time that we're going through. And I think we've touched on this before when Michael gave his talk a couple times about how there are things happening that we are from an invisible realm that we don't see. And there are battles being fought right now in other realms as well as here on the earth. And of course, they're affecting us and we're affecting them. So I just wanted to read this because I feel like there is this stuff going on. There's this bigger plan that we may or may not be conscious of that's being enacted here on this planet. This is a short passage from a long prophecy, so you guys might want to look it up online. These are the signs that great destruction is coming. The world shall rock to and fro. The white man will battle against other people in other lands, with those who possessed the first light of wisdom. There will be many columns of smoke and fire, such as White Feather has seen the white man take in the deserts not far from here. Only those which come will cause disease and a great dying. Many of my people, understanding the prophecies, shall be safe. Those who stay and live in the places of my people shall be safe. There will be much to rebuild, and soon, very soon afterward, Pahana will return, and Pahana's creator. He shall bring with him the dawn of the 5th world. He shall plant the seeds of his wisdom in their hearts. Even now the seeds are being planted. These shall smooth the way to the emergence into the fifth world. And with that, we welcome Michael Gallo. Perfect timing, Michael.